Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, did you know that Jupiter has 64 moons? They must have one hell of a werewolf problem. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Line of Fire Burnt Moon from Osprey Games. In Line of Fire Burnt Moon from Osprey Games, two players take on the roles of various factions in this civil war labor dispute in space, set on the surface of Io, a hostile, burning moon. So you're using all sorts of drones and robots, ROVs, to help you to facilitate your objectives. Now, this game is set in the world of Callisto 2200 Undaunted. In fact, if you have played any of the Undaunted games, this will be very familiar to you. Whereas the other Undaunted games are board games that have this deck building component, this game is a card game, a deck building game, with just a few tiles there that you're fighting over, you're competing over during the course of the game. Both players will have 5 tiles that they will put to the neutral side in front of them, and so you'll have these kind of parallel to each other. Then you will have a starting deck, and the starting deck have kind of specific asterisks and numbers on them to show you that they're starting cards, and then you will kind of each have your supply of cards for your faction, which are more or less the same. But you will have ROV cards. These are the robots that are actually going out and doing the dirty work on the surface of Io. But you will also have personnel that will be working behind the scenes trying to coordinate your war effort. Now, the different cards in your supply have different types. So as I say, you have the Moss cards, but you will also have tier cards or Daku cards, different kinds of cards that are of the same type. But you also have force. Each type has 2 forces, an A and a B. These are, again, kind of like squads in Undaunted. One of the most important cards you have will be the Moss ROVs. The Moss ROVs are kind of like riflemen in Undaunted in that they are the only units they can control. And you're trying to control these different locations on Io. So at the very beginning of the game, you're actually going to put a Moss from the supply in front of one of these locations on Io. Now, what you're going to do then is you're each going to draw 4 cards. Just like in Undaunted, you got to pick one of these cards that you can use to gain initiative. So you each play the card, you see who has the higher initiative, and that player will get initiative for that round. Now, what's going to happen is over on your turn, you're going to play all of your cards. And then your opponent will play all of their cards. So what are you doing? Well, the different units on the board can do different things. Now, you're trying to control locations. Really, you're going to win by controlling at least 8 points or destroying all of your other opponent's Moss units that are currently on the different lanes there. So what you're doing is you can deploy. Essentially, you can place a card in front of any of the lanes, any of the location lanes you want. Now, if you place a card where there already exists a card, where you already have a card, there's no penalty there. But if you place a card in any new location, you must take an interference card. You do start with 2 of these in your starter deck. And of course, these do nothing. They just eat up space. You can use them for initiative, but it's the lowest number. And initiative, of course, it's the highest number wins. Now, if your ROV card does have the scanning ability, then you can go there without the penalty of having to draw an interference card. Now, the second thing you can do is you can play a card to activate an action of a matching card that's already in a lane. A matching card means it's of the same type and the same force. Now, the different cards have different actions that they can do. Now, one of the most common things you can do is try to attack. So the cards will have sometimes different attack values. You'll have their standard attack value, and then if you have a majority cards, you have more cards on your side than they do, you can actually get the bonus there. Now, also, too, the tier cards, if you have any tier cards in that lane, and again, they must all be of the same force. You can only have A's or B's in any lane. Then that tier actually adds a bonus of 1 attack to that battle. So if you have that, you can target an opponent's card. You can say, I'm targeting that card. But you have to look at the card's defense value, and you have to look at any defense value the terrain, the location gives them. If you can meet or exceed that number, you can deal a casualty to your enemy. Now, just like in Undaunted, if you receive a hit, you have to discard a card from your hand that matches the card that was hit, or you have to take one out of your discard pile or your deck. Now, if you can't do that, you lose the card that is there on the board. Now, the Moss cards, again, have control. If you have a majority of cards on your side and you play a Moss card to activate a Moss card that you've already got there, you can flip over your side of the location to your controlled side. This now shows that you control it, you get the points for that location. Now, you can play a Fortify. Some units have the Fortify action. You can put out kind of a Fortify barrier, which gives you an additional defense there. However, you can also play the Demo action on some cards, and the Demo action allows you to destroy an enemy fortification. Some cards can move. Essentially, you can move a card from one lane to an adjacent lane, provided, again, that it is moving into a lane that has your same force, or if there's no cards there at all. You can take the Recon action. Essentially, the Recon action allows you to get rid of an interference card in your hand and draw a new card. You can shock an enemy. Essentially, you can turn one of their cards sideways, and they have to play another card to ready that card once again. Now, with your personnel cards, when you play them, of course, they don't need to match the cards that are out there because you can't put humans out there, only the ROVs. So you can just play them for their abilities. Now, one of the things you can do is Blast. One of the cards has the Blast ability, which allows you to essentially disrupt 2 enemy cards, turning 2 enemy cards sideways, but as soon as you play that, that card actually goes back into the supply. You can do the bolster action. Some of the cards actually say bolster A or bolster B. Some just say bolster. If it's bolster A, you can take that number of cards from an A pile. If it's a bolster B, that number of cards from a B pile. If it doesn't have an A or B, you can take it from anywhere in your supply. Now, there's the command card. The command card allows you to essentially take more cards, a number of more cards from your deck, and play them as you would regularly on your turn. There's the overclock action. The overclock action allows you to play a rover action twice on your turn with just the 1 card. You have the strike card. Essentially, if you play the strike card, you can just inflict a casualty on any of your enemy's cards at any time. You can redeploy. Essentially, you can move a card from any lane to any other lane, providing it's a legal move. You also have the withdraw. You can withdraw a number of cards from the lanes and put them back into your discard pile. Now, the objective of the game is for players to do one of 2 things. If you can successfully get 8 points by controlling 8 points worth of locations, you instantly win the game. Or if you can manage to destroy every one of your opponent's Moss cards that is on the board in front of each lane, there are no Moss cards of your enemy on the board, then you win the game. So players are going back and forth. They are deploying cards. They are playing cards for their actions. They are setting up fortifications, destroying fortifications. They are using the personnel cards to fool around with their enemies' cards on the board and achieve their own aims. Whoever succeeds in achieving the victory conditions first wins! Line of fire. Burnt moon. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, so as I've stated numerous times, this is essentially a straight Undaunted deck builder without the board, right? The cards act in the same way. In fact, you'll have to kind of learn basically how the cards interact with the lanes. Once you figure that out, this is Undaunted. If you played Undaunted, you'll know it. And if you've never played Undaunted, you need to go play Undaunted because it's an amazing game. Any of the Undaunted games are amazing, and any one of them has a very similar mechanic to this one. If you've never played an Undaunted game, though, too, you can pick this one up, and it's not going to be terribly difficult to learn. I don't think the concepts are terribly difficult to learn here. But it's an interesting head-on-head card game, and it's a very kind of different deck builder game too. Undaunted, the deck building system was always felt a little bit different because you don't like buy cards; you can just do the bolster action to get cards, which is kind of different than the mechanisms in a lot of deck building games where you have to get a currency to buy cards. But this game is interesting. It's tough. You've got good choices throughout. You've got good choices about how to play a card. Do I want to deploy it, or do I want to use it to activate a card in another lane? Do I want to get more of those kinds of cards into my deck, or do I want some of these personnel cards that have some really powerful abilities? Um, do I want to build that fortification or not? There's really good choices throughout this game, and I really enjoyed that aspect quite a bit. I do have some criticisms. My first criticism is I hate, I hate the fact that you've got these two little rule books. You've got the gameplay manual and the action manual. The gameplay just kind of gives you the overview of the game, and the action manual just tells you exactly what all the actions do. I just wish it was one book. I can't tell you how many times I'm going through one, I gotta go to the other one. And I did that repeatedly, and I did not like that at all. It really bugged me. I really wish they'd just given you one uh, rule book that had everything in there. So that's my real complaint about the game. Now, there's another aspect here of the game that I guess is not really a complaint on the game itself, but as you're playing the game, of course, it's invoking Undaunted, right? And I love Undaunted. Every one of the Undaunted games is magic. Every Undaunted game is tremendous fun. I haven't played one I haven't liked. Now, some I do like better than others, but they're all just great. Every time I play an Undaunted game, I've got a smile on my face. I love it. And the same is true with this one generally. I generally really enjoyed this. But having said it, the game is more mathy than Undaunted. And what I mean by that is you got to do the basic math for Undaunted for you're calculating, how far away is your enemy, what is their natural defense, what is their location defense. So you're doing that math, but all of that too is ultimately subordinate to the die roll, right? You can roll a 10, which is always a hit, and there's always that luck factor. There's always that chance there, and I missed that here. I missed the luck. Now, von Clausewitz tells us war is the realm of chance. Okay, and I like luck, and I like to be able to mitigate luck. And I kind of feel like that's what Undaunted does. Is you can look at what your attack would be at a certain distance and what have you, and you can make that decision. Do I want to push my luck? Do I want to roll the die or not, or do I want to do something else with this card and with this unit, right? And here, I kind of felt like it just came down to, well, I do have the choice of do I want to play the card for the action or play it for something else, which I like. But then if I do decide to do the attack, it's I can just do it in my head. It's like, okay, I can do that and I won't defeat him, so I can play it for this. And I miss the fact that you can't take that chance. Because there's always those moments in Undaunted where you got the long shot and you roll the die and you're not, mathematically it's just not going to happen, and then it happens, and it's amazing. And I missed that here. So that was, again, that's kind of something I wasn't wild about. On the whole, I really did enjoy this game. I think it's a good, solid deck building card game. It's one of its chief virtues is it's not terribly long, about a half an hour or so. So I like that aspect a lot. But honestly, I'd rather play one of the Undaunted games. I think, obviously I like the World War II theme, but I do like the science fiction theme in Callisto quite a bit. But I just feel like I'd rather get out the game Undaunted and play that. The system works really well here, but it does feel like it's less than Undaunted. If it's in a vacuum, if I'm just looking at this game purely on its own merits, I would say this is a really fun game. I had a lot of fun with it. But where I'm looking at it within the world of I played all these other Undaunted games, I think, like I say, I would rather play any Undaunted game before I would play this one. So I'm going to go ahead on the Cody scale to be as objective as I can. And again, rating it in the vacuum, I'll go ahead. I'll give it a 7 on the Cody scale. I think it's a very fun game. But if you do have one of the Undaunted games, I think I'd rather play that. Thank you once again for joining us here today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, I would ask you to please leave a comment for us here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, on Twitter. Please like and subscribe to all of our platforms. Please like and subscribe to us here on YouTube as well. I would also ask you to please give a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek. And if you really do like what we do here on this channel, I'd ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel. I would also ask you, if you really do enjoy what you see on this channel, please click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I'm giving away a broken guitar. No strings attached. Is he attacking or is he suppressing?
Attacking.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. You gotta roll 8, 9, or 10.
Okay. No. 8.
It's an 8.